So we've been looking at the concepts of distance and time, and hopefully been doing a few practical exercises to learn to strike from the right distance and use the time that is appropriate to that distance. And this is really important to be able to do. Now, Swetnam says something interesting about this. He says that people will practice this in the fencing schools. They'll attack from a particular appropriate distance, but when it comes time to tell their tale on the point of a sharp rapier, they will stand off for their own safety. And that is certainly true even in the free fencing we do. People tend not to be too close, they tend to be too far away. So we're going to look at some reasons why that's not a great idea, why it's important to be able to get close enough to present a credible threat, and also what do you do if you're fighting somebody who's much taller with a longer weapon, who therefore has an advantage. And they do. Silver says the tall man has the advantage. So how do you get through that dangerous distance where he can strike you and you can't strike him? How do you get close enough? So we've got a little bit of footage drawn from a couple of private lessons that I've got to do since the lockup, which hopefully will demonstrate why you want to get close enough and attack from the appropriate distance, and a few tactics on how you might achieve that if you're having difficulty. Being able to judge your distance, particularly on your attacks, is really important. If you fall short and you don't know that you're falling short, it's not a deliberate tactic, it does actually leave you quite open. You might think that you at the very least you're safe, but in fact you're not. For a start, you can swap quite close to your opponent, allowing you to throw in a very quick cut. So, like that. And you also make it very easy for them to slip the blow. And if they get used to you falling short, you can even start parrying, either standing still or even surging forward, which makes it very difficult to escape. Now, if you're falling short because you're, say, the other guy's much taller and you're finding it difficult to get into distance, there are three approaches you can take to allow yourself to get a little closer. The first is to close in under the half sword, that is, engage their blade about halfway up and close in under that. The second is doing the same thing under a hanging guard, which obviously covers a little bit more to the ground, though you've got to watch the reverse cut. And the third method is to use the figure eight cut, particularly when the other person's sword is not there to engage. Okay, by throwing nice tight figure eights, keeping the hilt of the sword in front of you, that allows you to close into distance. It's important that you close off your opponent's lines of attack and offer a genuine threat. You don't just sort of want to wander into distance and essentially turn it into a false time, because that allows your opponent to just strike you in time of the hand, and that's not what you want to do. A good way of practicing this is to actually give yourself a massive disadvantage and swap to something much shorter than normal. So here, I've swapped to an alehouse dagger, and despite being massively outreached by the backsword, I'm able to close in close enough to strike before Andrew can hit me.